Nobody laughed harder at humans than the traders of Harmony Point. Torvak remembered the exact moment the jokes started that night. A Drellian merchant had just finished a story about a human who tried to befriend a wild creature that nearly killed him. The human had apparently apologized to the creature afterward for scaring it. "They are like children," the merchant said, his 4 arms waving with amusement. "Friendly, harmless children who never grew up." The whole table erupted in laughter. Torvak laughed too. He was a Melori scholar, tall and thin, with skin that shifted colors based on his emotions. Right now it glowed a warm orange of contentment. He had spent 3 years studying humans for the Galactic Archive, and he found them pleasant but utterly unremarkable. Humans had no natural weapons. No claws, no venom, no armored skin. They could not see in the dark. They could not breathe underwater. They had no telepathy, no special senses, nothing that made them stand out among the 1,000 species of the galaxy. What they did have was an annoying habit of smiling at everyone and trying to make friends with everything that moved. "I traded with a human crew last cycle," said a Fenari pilot, her feathers ruffling with amusement. "They spent half our meeting showing me pictures of their offspring and their pets. They wanted to know about my family, as if we were old friends." More laughter filled the bar. Torvak noticed that one person at the table was not laughing. Old Gren, a Vorathi warrior who had seen more battles than anyone on the station, sat quietly nursing his drink. The Vorathi were a proud species, twice the size of humans, covered in thick gray hide that could stop most weapons. Gren had the scars of 100 fights across his body. "You disagree, old one?" the Drellian merchant asked. Gren looked up slowly. His deep-set eyes moved across the table, settling on each face for a moment. "You have never seen them fight," he said simply. The table went quiet for a moment, then burst into fresh laughter. "Fight humans?" The Fenari pilot nearly choked on her drink. "They are the weakest species in the quadrant. Their bones break easily. Their skin tears like paper. What could they possibly do in a fight?" Gren did not answer. He simply finished his drink and walked away. Torvak watched him go with curiosity. He made a mental note to add this strange myth to his cultural report. Some species seem to have irrational beliefs about humans, probably based on old stories and exaggeration. He returned to his drink and his comfortable assumptions. 3 days later, everything changed. The distress signal came in during the middle of the station's night cycle. A colony transport ship called the Gentle Dawn had been captured by the Krell Syndicate. 200 civilians of mixed species were now prisoners on a Krell warship, being held for ransom. Among the captured were 5 humans, a medical team that had been traveling to a frontier colony. Torvak immediately requested permission to join the diplomatic observation team. This was a perfect opportunity to document how different species handled crisis situations. The archive would be pleased. The negotiation ship was small and fast. Torvak spent the journey reviewing what he knew about the Krell. They were brutal slavers, feared across dozens of systems. They took what they wanted and killed anyone who resisted. No species had ever successfully challenged them and survived. When they arrived at the Krell flagship, Torvak felt his skin shift to pale blue with nervousness. The ship was massive, bristling with weapons, designed to intimidate. The Krell allowed the diplomatic team to dock and observe the prisoners before negotiations began. A show of power, Torvak knew. They wanted everyone to see what they had taken. The prisoners were kept in large holding cells. Torvak saw Melori, Fenari, Drellians, and a dozen other species huddled together in fear. Some were injured. Many were crying. Then he saw the humans. They had been separated from the others, kept in a smaller cage near the guard station. The Krell apparently found them amusing enough to display like zoo animals. But something was wrong with the picture. The humans were not crying. They were not huddled in fear. Their leader, an older female with gray in her dark hair, was calmly tending to a wounded civilian through the bars of her cage. She was using strips torn from her own clothing as bandages. A younger male human stood near the cage door. He was not looking at the guards with fear. He was watching them, counting them. His eyes moved with purpose. One of the Krell guards walked over and slammed his weapon against the cage bars. "Soft little creatures," he growled. "You will make poor slaves too weak. Perhaps we will just eat you instead." The older human looked up at him and smiled warmly. "Thank you for the food you brought earlier," she said in a gentle voice. "It was very kind." The guard seemed confused by this response. He grunted and walked away. Torvak watched the humans for a long moment. His skin flickered with colors he could not name. Something felt wrong. Something did not match his 3 years of research. Then the younger human caught his eye through the cage bars. He smiled at Torvak. It was not a scared smile. It was not a friendly smile. It was the smile of someone who knew something that no one else in the room understood. And for the first time in his life, Torvak felt afraid of a human. The Krell commander was a mountain of muscle and cruelty named Brack. Torvak watched him enter the negotiation room and felt his skin go pale with fear. Brack stood nearly 3 meters tall. His gray hide was covered in ritual scars, each one representing a kill. There were too many to count. "You come to beg for your weaklings," Brack said, his voice like rocks grinding together. "Good, I enjoy begging." The diplomatic team's leader, a senior Melori named Ambassador 7, stepped forward with practiced calm. "We come to negotiate a fair exchange. The Galactic Council is prepared to offer." "The Council offers nothing I want," Brack interrupted. "I will tell you what I want: 50 million credits, 20 tons of refined fuel crystals, and the location of 3 unprotected colony worlds." Ambassador 7's skin went white with shock. That is impossible. The Council would never." "Then your weaklings die," Brack smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "We begin processing them in 6 hours. The young ones sell well, the old ones we eat." He turned and walked out, leaving the diplomatic team in stunned silence. Torvak felt sick. He had seen cruelty before, but nothing like this. The Krell did not negotiate, they took. He asked permission to observe the prisoners one more time. He told himself it was for his research, but really he wanted to understand what he had seen earlier. That strange calmness in the humans, that unsettling smile. The guard escorted him to the observation deck above the holding cells. From here, he could watch without being seen. The main cell was chaos. Civilians from a dozen species huddled together, crying, praying to their various gods. Some had given up hope entirely and sat motionless, staring at nothing. But the human cage was different. The older female, who Torvak had learned was called Dr. Nadia Okonkwo, had organized her small team with quiet efficiency. One human was checking the structural integrity of the cage bars. Another was examining the lock mechanism. A third was memorizing the guard patrol patterns. The younger male, Roy Biguet, stood perfectly still near the front of the cage. He had not moved in 20 minutes. His eyes tracked every guard, every weapon, every door. Dr. Okonkwo herself was treating wounded civilians through the bars. A young Fenari child had a broken wing, and the doctor had somehow fashioned a splint from scraps of material. Her hands were gentle. Her voice was soft and warm. "You will fly again, little one," she told the child. "I promise." Torvak pulled out his recording device and began taking notes. Human behavior under extreme stress appears abnormal. They do not show expected fear responses. Possible neurological deficiency prevents proper threat recognition. Further study required. He paused. No, that was not right. He had seen humans respond to danger before. They knew what fear was. They simply were not feeling it now. Or perhaps they were feeling something stronger. He watched Dr. Okonkwo move to the next patient, an elderly Drellian with a head wound. She cleaned the wound carefully, speaking gentle words of comfort. When she finished, she looked up directly at the observation deck. She could not see him through the one-way glass, but somehow Torvak felt like she knew exactly where he was. "We have done nothing wrong," she said, her voice carrying across the cell block. "We were traveling to help sick people. These civilians were going to build new homes. We are not enemies." She paused. "But if you hurt the people under my care, I will not forgive it." The guards laughed at her, a small human female threatening the mighty Krell. It was absurd. Torvek did not laugh. He watched Roy step closer to Dr. Okonkwo and speak quietly. The doctor nodded once. The other three humans shifted their positions slightly. To anyone else, it would look like nothing, random movement. But Torvak had studied body language across 40 species. He knew coordination when he saw it. The humans were not waiting to be rescued. They were preparing. He thought about alerting the Krell, but stopped himself. Why would he? What could 5 unarmed humans do against a warship full of trained warriors? He looked at his notes again, 3 years of research, hundreds of interviews, thousands of data points. All of it said the same thing. Humans were average, unremarkable, harmless. Roy looked up at the observation deck. He could not see through the glass, but his eyes found Torvak's position anyway. He smiled again, that same knowing smile. Then he spoke, quietly enough that only Torvak's recording device picked it up. 37 guards between here and the shuttle bay. 12 minutes should be enough. Torvak's skin flashed through 5 colors in rapid succession. He did not understand. He could not understand. But somewhere deep in his mind, old Gren's words echoed like a warning. You have never seen them fight. In 4 hours, everything Torvak believed about humans would die. And something terrible would be born in its place. 11 seconds changed everything Torvak believed about the universe. He was still on the observation deck when the Krell decided they were tired of waiting. Commander Brack had grown bored with negotiations. He wanted entertainment. A massive guard named Torg volunteered to select the first prisoners for processing. He chose the human cage. The soft ones first, Torg announced, pulling out a shock prod. They screamed the loudest. Torvak watched through the observation glass as Torg approached the cage. The guard was enormous, easily 3 times the mass of any human. His arms were as thick as tree trunks. His shock prod crackled with enough electricity to drop a charging beast. Dr. Okonkwo stepped forward to meet him. She was smiling. That same warm, gentle smile she had worn since the beginning. "Good evening," she said politely. "How can I help you?" Torg laughed. "You can help by screaming, little creature." He reached through the bars toward her. Then he saw the child. A young Melori girl had been hiding behind the humans since the capture. She was perhaps 6 years old, terrified, clutching Dr. Okonkwo's leg. Torg's eyes lit up with cruel pleasure. "The small one, young ones sell for more, give her to me." Dr. Okonkwo's smile did not change, but something in her eyes did. "No," she said simply. Torg roared with laughter and reached past her for the child. What happened next took 11 seconds. Torvak would remember every moment for the rest of his life. Roy moved first. He had been standing 3 meters away, but suddenly he was right there, his hands closing around Torg's. Outstretched arm, he did not fight the guard's strength, he redirected it, used it. There was a wet popping sound. Torg's shoulder dislocated. The shock prod fell from nerveless fingers. Dr. Okonkwo caught it before it hit the ground. The other 3 humans had already moved to the cage door. One of them had somehow acquired the guard's access card during the confusion. Torg opened his mouth to scream for help. Roy's elbow connected with his throat. The scream became a gurgle. The guard fell. 11 seconds. 1 guard down, no sound, no wasted movement. The cage door slid open. Torvak's skin went pure white, the color of absolute shock. Dr. Okonkwo stepped out of the cage and looked directly up at the observation deck. She could not see through the one-way glass, but her eyes found Torvak anyway. "We are going to take our patients to safety now," she said calmly. "Please do not get in our way." She was still smiling, but it was a different smile now. The warmth was still there, but it had an edge to it, like a knife wrapped in silk. The other prisoners stared in disbelief. The Fenari child with the broken wing whispered, "What? What are you?" Dr. Okonkwo knelt down to her level. "We are doctors, little one. It is our job to protect you. Stay close and stay quiet." Roy was already at the main cell, working on the lock. The other humans had spread out in a defensive formation, each one covering a different angle. Torvak fumbled for the alarm button. He should alert the guards. He should stop this insanity before it got worse. But his hand would not move. He watched Roy open the main cell and begin organizing the civilians. The humans moved them into groups quickly and efficiently. The wounded in the center, the strong on the outside. "Listen carefully," Roy said, his voice quiet but commanding. "We are leaving this ship. Stay together, stay quiet. Do exactly what we say. We will get you home." An elderly Drellian stepped forward, trembling. "You cannot fight the Krell. You are only 5. They are hundreds." Roy looked at him. There was no fear in his eyes, no doubt. 37 guards between us and the shuttle bay," he said. 12 minutes. We have done more with less." Alarms began blaring throughout the ship. Dr. Okonkwo moved to the front of the group. She held the shock prod in one hand and a sharp piece of metal in the other. Where she had found the metal, Torvak had no idea. "Stay behind us," she told the civilians. "Whatever happens, do not stop moving toward the shuttle bay." A group of Krell guards appeared at the far end of the corridor. 6 warriors, fully armed, charging toward them. The humans did not run. They did not hide. They moved forward. Torvak watched through the security feeds as the two groups collided. He expected the humans to fall in seconds. 8 seconds later, all 6 Krell were on the ground. The humans had acquired 4 more weapons. Dr. Okonkwo turned back to the civilians, blood splattered across her medical uniform. She was still smiling. "This way, everyone. Stay calm. We are doing wonderfully." Torvak stared at the screen. His recording device had fallen from his numb fingers. 3 years of research, thousands of data points, everything he knew about humans. All of it was wrong. Terribly, horribly wrong. Through 17 security cameras, Torvak watched the impossible unfold. The diplomatic team had barricaded themselves in the observation room. Ambassador Seven was sending frantic messages to the Galactic Council. The other diplomats were praying or crying or simply staring at the screens in disbelief. Torvak could not look away. On screen, 5 humans were leading 200 civilians through a warship full of the most dangerous warriors in the galaxy, and they were winning. The Krell threw everything at them. Guard squads, security drones, heavy weapons, nothing worked. The humans did not fight like any species Torvak had ever studied. They did not rely on strength or speed or special abilities. They adapted. They improvised. They worked together like parts of a single organism. When a Krell guard fired at them from cover, Roy threw a piece of debris to distract him while another human flanked from the side. When a security door blocked their path, Dr. Okonkwo found an air vent that led around it. When a wounded civilian could not walk fast enough, 2 humans carried him without slowing down. They used Krell weapons they had never trained with. They found paths through a ship they had never seen before. They countered tactics they should not have known how to defeat. Torvak grabbed his recording device with shaking hands. "Human combat adaptation is beyond all documented parameters," he whispered into the recorder. "They learn in real time, adjust in real time, no hesitation, no wasted movement. This is not natural. This cannot be natural." On screen, the group reached a wide corridor. At the far end, 14 Krell warriors had formed a defensive line. They had heavy shields, heavy weapons. They blocked the only path to the shuttle bay. The humans stopped. Roy assessed the situation in 2 seconds. "Too many, too fortified, we need another way." Dr. Okonkwo shook her head. "No other way, the side passages are sealed." A moment of silence. Then Roy turned to one of the other humans, a young woman named Sarah. Get them through the maintenance shaft. It joins up with the shuttle bay on the other side. Sarah nodded. She began moving civilians toward a small access hatch in the wall. That leaves 4 of us against 14 of them, another human said. Roy picked up a heavy Krell rifle. I count 12, 2 of them are wounded, shouldn't take long. Torvak watched the 4 humans move into the corridor. They walked calmly. No fear, no hesitation. The Krell commander of the defensive line laughed. 4 soft creatures against the finest warriors of the Syndicate. This will be a good story for my offspring. Dr. Okonkwo smiled at him. I hope your offspring are better at counting than you are. The Krell commander's smile faded. What? You have 12 warriors, 14 minus the 2 Roy already shot while you were talking. The commander spun around. 2 of his warriors were down, clutching wounded legs. Then the humans attacked. Torvak had seen combat footage from dozens of species. He had watched the greatest warriors of the galaxy in action. None of them fought like this. The humans did not try to overpower the Krell. They could not. The Krell were stronger, tougher, better armed. Instead, they targeted weaknesses, joints, eyes, throats, the gaps in armor where nerves were exposed. They used the Krell's size against them, made them stumble into each other, turned their strength into clumsiness. Roy took a blade across the arm. He did not slow down. He used the blood to blind the Krell who had cut him, then broke the warrior's knee with a precise kick. Dr. Okonkwo fought with medical precision. She knew exactly where to strike to cause maximum pain with minimum effort. Every hit was calculated. Every movement had purpose. 90 seconds, that was all it took. 12 Krell warriors lay on the ground, some unconscious, some wishing they were. The 4 humans stood among them, breathing hard but standing. Roy's arm was bleeding badly. Dr. Okonkwo immediately went to him, pulling out medical supplies she had taken from earlier guards. Hold still, she said, wrapping the wound. We need to move, Roy replied. And you need to not bleed out before we get there. She finished the bandage with quick, practiced movements. There, now we move. Torvak realized he had stopped breathing. He forced himself to inhale. On another screen, he saw Sarah leading the civilians through the maintenance shaft. They were almost to the shuttle bay. Then Commander Brack's voice echoed through the ship's speakers. Attention, intruders, you have killed my warriors. You have embarrassed me in front of my crew. For this, I will give you a gift. A pause. I have activated the ship's self-destruct sequence. In 15 minutes, this vessel will explode. You will all die here, along with every weakling you tried to save. Brack laughed. If I cannot have my slaves, no one will. The channel closed. Dr. Okonkwo looked at Roy. He looked back. 11 minutes to the shuttle bay, he said, if we run. She nodded once, then we run. They ran, and Torvak finally understood what old Gren had been trying to tell him. The Krell were warriors, fighting was what they did. But humans were something else entirely, something that had evolved on a world so harsh, so deadly, that giving up simply was not in their nature. The Krell fought because they wanted to. Humans fought because they refused to let the people they loved die. And that made all the difference. The shuttle bay was so close that Torvak could taste hope. He had abandoned the observation room when the self-destruct was announced. The diplomatic team scattered in different directions, each trying to find their own way to safety. But Torvak ran toward the humans. He did not know why. Maybe he needed to see how this ended. He caught up with them just as they reached the shuttle bay doors. The civilians were already inside, herded through the maintenance shaft by Sarah. 200 frightened people crowded onto a cargo shuttle that was meant for 50. But they were alive. They were almost free. Then the doors opened fully, and Torvak saw what waited for them. 20 Krell guards, Commander Brack's personal elite. They stood between the humans and the shuttle, weapons raised, faces twisted with hatred. You killed my soldiers, Brack's voice echoed from a speaker overhead. You made fools of my warriors, but this is where it ends, my elite. We'll tear you apart, and I will watch your soft bodies burn with my ship. Dr. Okonkwo looked at the 20 guards, then at the shuttle, then at her team. The shuttle can fly, she said quietly, but someone needs to hold them here. Roy stepped forward without hesitation. I will. No, Dr. Okonkwo's voice was firm. I am not leaving anyone behind. Doc, Roy turned to face her. His arm was still bleeding through the bandage. His body was covered in cuts and bruises, but his eyes were clear, calm. You are the only one who can fly the shuttle. You are the only one who can treat the wounded. Without you, they all die. Roy, 200 people, Doc, 200 people who are counting on you to get them home. He put his good hand on her shoulder. That is the mission. That has always been the mission. Dr. Okonkwo stared at him. Her eyes were wet, but her face was steady. You cannot beat 20 of them alone, she whispered. I do not need to beat them. Roy picked up a fallen Krell rifle and checked its charge. I just need to slow them down long enough for you to launch. A moment passed between them, something ancient and human, an understanding that went beyond words. Sarah called from the shuttle. Doc, we need to go, 8 minutes until detonation. Dr. Okonkwo pulled Roy into a brief, fierce embrace. I will remember you. Get them home, Roy said. That is all that matters. He turned and walked toward 20 Krell warriors. Torvak watched from the edge of the shuttle bay. His skin was cycling through colors so fast it hurt. He should run. He should get on the shuttle, but his legs would not move. Roy stopped 10 meters from the Krell line. He stood alone, one human against 20 of the galaxy's most brutal warriors. The Krell laughed. One soft creature, their leader sneered. This is your great defense. We will break you in seconds. Roy raised his weapon, then stop talking and come break me. They charged. What happened next was not a battle, it was a storm. Roy did not try to win. He tried to buy time. Every second mattered. Every moment he stayed on his feet was another moment for the shuttle to power up, for the bay doors to open, for 200 people to escape. He fought like nothing Torvak had ever seen. He used the Krell's numbers against them, making them stumble over each other in the confined space. He aimed for weak points, slowing them rather than killing them. He kept moving, never staying in one place, never giving them an easy target. But he was one man, one wounded, exhausted human against 20 fresh warriors. The first blow caught him in the ribs. Torvak heard something crack. Roy kept fighting. The second blow opened a gash across his back. Blood poured down his spine. Roy kept fighting. Behind him, the shuttle engines roared to life. The bay doors began to open. The Krell realized what was happening. Half of them broke off to stop the shuttle. Roy threw himself into their path. He could barely stand. He was bleeding from a dozen wounds, but he blocked them, slowed them, gave the shuttle the seconds it needed. The shuttle lifted off the deck. Roy went down under a wave of Krell bodies. Torvak saw Dr. Okonkwo in the pilot's seat, tears streaming down her face, hands steady on the controls. The shuttle shot through the bay doors into open space. The last thing Roy saw was 200 people escaping to freedom. He smiled. Then the Krell ship exploded behind them, and the shuttle jumped to safety. In the passenger compartment, 200 civilians sat in stunned silence. They were alive. They were free, because 5 humans had walked into hell for them. 4 humans had walked out. The young Mallory girl with the broken wing sat next to Dr. Okonkwo's empty pilot chair. She was holding a scrap of medical bandage that Roy had used to wrap her wing earlier. Will he be okay? She asked Sarah. Sarah looked at the stars outside the window. Her eyes were wet. He saved us, she said softly. He saved all of us. The girl did not understand. She was too young, but she held the bandage tight and did not let go. And somewhere in the void behind them, among the debris of a Krell warship, a human body floated in the darkness. Still smiling, 3 months later, Torvak stood before the largest audience of his career. The Great Hall of the Galactic Archive could hold 10,000 beings. Today, every seat was filled. Word had spread about what happened on the Krell ship. Species from across the galaxy wanted to hear the truth from someone who had witnessed it. Torvak's skin shifted through nervous colors as he approached the speaking platform. His notes were clutched in his trembling hands. 3 years of research, completely rewritten in the months since his rescue. "Distinguished members of the archive," he began, his voice unsteady. "I come before you today to correct a grave error. An error that I and countless other scholars have repeated for generations." He took a breath. "We believed we understood humans. We were wrong." The hall fell silent. For years, we measured human strength and found it average. We measured their speed and found it average. We measured their natural weapons and found none. We measured their aggression and found it low. We concluded they were unremarkable. He paused. "We were measuring the wrong things." Torvak activated the display behind him. Images appeared: Earth with its violent storms, extreme temperatures, and predator-filled landscapes. Humans evolved on a death world, a planet that tried to kill them every single day. They had no armor, no claws, no venom, so they developed something else, something we never thought to measure. He changed the image. Now it showed Dr. Okonkwo treating wounded civilians through the bars of her cage. They developed the ability to care, to form bonds with any creature, any species, to love so deeply that they would die for strangers they had just met. Another image, Roy standing alone against 20 Krell warriors. "We thought this was weakness. We were fools." Torvak's voice grew stronger. When a human loves something, they become something else entirely. Their bodies produce chemicals that suppress pain and fear. Their minds enter a state of perfect focus. They stop thinking about their own survival and think only about protecting what they love. He looked out at the audience. Every eye was fixed on him. "A human will smile at you. They will share their food with you. They will learn your language and befriend your children. They will help you when you are hurt and comfort you when you are sad." His voice dropped. "And if you threaten what they love, they will become the most dangerous thing in the galaxy." A murmur ran through the crowd. I watched 5 humans walk into a ship full of Krell warriors. The Krell are bred for combat. They live for violence. They have conquered dozens of worlds. Torvak's skin flickered with the memory. The humans killed them, not with superior weapons, not with greater numbers, with love, with the absolute, terrifying refusal to let the people under their care come to harm. He changed the display one final time. A holographic image of Dr. Okonkwo appeared. She had agreed to speak. "Dr. Okonkwo," Torvak said, "the archive wishes to know, do you regret the violence?" The doctor's image was calm, warm, the same gentle grandmother Torvak remembered from the cage. "I regret that it was necessary," she said. "I do not regret protecting my patients." An archive member called out, "Would you do it again?" Dr. Okonkwo did not hesitate. "Every time, without question, they were under my care." The hall erupted in whispered conversations. Torvak raised his hand for silence. "I have one final point to make," he said, "and I ask that you listen carefully." The room quieted. "It is not that humans can be dangerous. Many species can be dangerous. The Krell are dangerous. The Vorathi are dangerous. A dozen species in this room could kill with ease." He looked out at the faces watching him. "What makes humans terrifying is that they choose peace. Every single day they wake up and choose to be kind. They choose to be gentle. They choose to smile at strangers and help those in need." His voice dropped to barely above a whisper. "They could choose otherwise. They could be the deadliest force in the galaxy, and they choose to be friendly instead." He gathered his notes. "I saw humans fight once, only once, and I understood why the old warriors go quiet when humans are mentioned. It is not because humans are violent, it is because they are not." Torvik stepped back from the platform. My recommendation to the archive is simple. Never give humans a reason to stop being friendly. The hall sat in stunned silence. Then slowly applause began to build. 1 week later, Torvik returned to Harmony Point. He walked into the same bar where this all began. He ordered the same drink. He sat at the same table. A human trader walked past, carrying packages for a merchant. She accidentally bumped into a young Melori boy, scattering his belongings across the floor. The human immediately knelt down to help. She gathered the scattered items with gentle hands. She apologized 3 times. She made sure the boy was okay before leaving. She smiled at him. A warm, friendly, harmless smile. Torvik watched her go. His skin shifted to a color he did not have a name for, something between awe and terror, something between admiration and fear. He pulled out his recorder and added one final note to his study. The humans are watching over us now, all of us, every species, every world, every child. He watched the human trader laugh with a group of Fenari merchants. And as long as we do not hurt what they love, we will never have anything to fear. He put the recorder away. I hope we are wise enough to keep it that way.